Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. Alright, the sincere Akim, and Akwatu listening out there, to the videos we do. Alright, back with another lesson here. This lesson will be entitled, What is the stone that struck the image at its feet in Daniel chapter 2? Alright, and you should notice the image in Daniel chapter 2, the head of gold, the chest and the arms of silver, the belly, brass, the legs, belly and thighs, brass, the legs, iron, on the feet. Okay, so the stone that struck it is the massive chariot that Yahushua is going to be coming back in. You know, the white horse, and we'll get into all that. All right, that struck the image at its feet. Which was partly of iron and partly of clay. All right, okay, which goes into the old pagan Roman Empire, but it also could go into the revised Roman Empire, which is America, Babylon the Great, and the beast, NATO and EU, the EU nations, the 10 horns. Okay, so that that's the revised Roman Empire. Okay, and that's where we are. Okay. So let me just read it here. This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 41. I'll start verse 41. It says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet, that part Slakia, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And this talking about the old pagan Roman Empire, where they was taking all kind of men for their army, to make their army great. Jake and he done. Okay. So the divine kingdom here, verse 44, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. And that's the kingdom Yahushua is coming back with. It's coming back to take over Babylon the Great, America. Coming back to set up Israel's kingdom, Jacob's kingdom. And to destroy Esau, Edom, empire. Okay, Jacob got next. That's Second Ezra 6, verse I believe verse 7. It said, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay. So Yahushua, gonna come back and take over this wicked society, Esau Edom's kingdom. Verse 45, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands. All right, that stone is the chariot that Yahushua is coming back in. Okay. That the massive chariot, the white horse, and that it shall break, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. the great power hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and and the interpretation Slakia thereof sure. So this was prophecy. You know, and yeah, so all these kingdoms had the time to rule the Aeon, the age, and we had the last rulership, Aeon age. Esau, Edom, rulership. You know, and the Lord is coming back to destroy them. All right, in that white chariot. And let me just get that. That's Revelation chapter 6 and verse 2. It says, "And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him," which is Yahushai. All right, that white horse is a massive chariot. What Yahushai coming on. All right, "And he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." Yahushua gonna conquer, the Esau Edom's kingdom. Okay, he's gonna destroy America, Babylon the Great. All right, the last empire, wicked empire of Esau Edom. Okay, Dabu, also going to, Yahushua have the control of those laser beams. You're gonna be zapping. You're gonna come with that's Isaiah 66 and 15. His chariot's gonna be the slack here. Can't really see it now, but you should know. Them laser beams, gonna be zapping. Okay, so this is Zephaniah chapter, what's like Zephaniah. This is Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, "Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits." This was a small chariot. Verse 3, "Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth." And they done already making their appearance. The chariots, you're seeing, more chariot sightings, but the ultimate one is Yahushai's return, in that massive chariot. All right. "For every one that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and every one that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief." Right? Who's the thief? Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, these are Amalekites. Okay, who in our land, the pretenders, the rats, small top hatters, okay, and they don't already enter into the house of the thief. It's just, the ultimate one is Yahushai coming, all right, to take them over, to conquer them, as we read in Revelation 6 and 2, all right. So it says, "And into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name." Who's that? Okay, the rats, these rats. Okay, they saying they are the Lord's people, which is not true. All right, "And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof." Okay, so that's it. Okay, so that's the stone what struck it at his feet. So that that fire gonna be coming out and destroying. Gonna be coming out and destroying the wicked. In America, Babylon the Great, wicked 2/3 heathens and lower level Edomites. So that's it. Okay, so I'll read this. This is 2nd Ezra 13 and verse 1. It says, "And it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof." Okay, that's the chariots, moving in the atmosphere, which is the sea, the Shemayim. All right, the heavenly waters. Verse 3. "And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong." All right, the man that waxed strong is Yahushai, with the thousands of heaven. He's coming with thousands and thousands of chariots, And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. The chariot sight, the chariot's going to be looking terrifying, well, to the ones who do know, Jake and, whatnot, you see, look, oh, look, it's an alien invasion, okay, and, that's Revelation 1 verse 7, every eye shall see him, and they're gonna wail, because of him, okay. Verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth feeleth when it feeleth fire. All right, Yahushua gonna be ordering them laser beams. Verse 5, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea," which is Yahushua, coming from the heavens, the sky. Verse 6, "But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew up upon it." Okay, which is that chariot. The same stone was struck the statue. Okay. Yahushua gonna be riding on. Okay. In the air. Okay, when people see it, they're gonna be terrified. So that's it. That's the stone. The Lord coming back to destroy the whole empire. Okay, Esau Edom age, is gonna be up. Okay, and I'll just read this. I was planning to bring out the scripture, but I'll read this. This is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8. All right. And it says, "Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another." Right? And it's going to be translated to Jacob. The Lord is coming back to put, Israel on top, again. Okay? As, in Daniel 2 and 44, the divine kingdom. You're never gonna fall, it's eternal. Jacob gonna be ruling forever, eternity. Okay, so or that's it there. Okay, that's it there. So yeah, the Lord coming back to destroy them, right? Okay, and that partly iron and clay also goes into America, as I said, and they turning weak too. They partly strong, and partly weak. As you see with the Iran war, since they block off the Strait of Hormuz now, all right, they ain't getting no oil. The economy, is going to fail. It's about 200 for a barrel of oil. It's getting expensive. Gas prices rising up. All those things, the Lord turn them weak. So the US dollar is not going to be backed up by anything, It's going to fail, And that's what the Lord doing. And all these things, famine is going to come, So the Lord is destroying America, Babylon the Great, economically, and also exposing them too. All right, with the Epstein files. Okay, So that's what's going on. Okay. So I'll bring out this. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and I'll read from verse 7. It says, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let." The mystery of iniquity is the the Roman Empire, all from back then when, okay, they, ruling, them Edomites ruling. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Alright? Yahushai coming back, take them out of the way. They only have a period, a time, and then it's coming up. It reached the time limit. Alright, verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Alright? Consumed with the spirit of his mouth is the prophets. We revealing him, day and night. Alright? In these videos and whatnot. Alright? And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming is these chariots. Alright? We're going to be coming with power. You're not going to meet them as a man. Alright? So, Esau Edom is going to be destroyed. Babylon the Great, America, is going to be destroyed. So the Lord is exposing them and destroying them. Their economy, and whatnot. Alright? Okay, that's what the Lord's doing. Okay? I'll bring out this quick. This is Habakkuk. This is Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 8. It says, "Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea? And thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation." Yahushua is coming back. In in the brightness, he coming back in brightness. With power, with chariots. He's gonna destroy them. Also with the nuclear missiles. So that's how the Lord making them weak with the economy. They're gonna be harder the fall gonna be harder. All right. Okay. So that's it. So the iron and clay was the old Roman Empire and the modern day Roman Empire, as I said. America, NATO, the EU, the 10 horns, the Edomite nations, which is the beast, who deadly wound was healed, so their economies are, about is gonna fall, and which all this too is a great is a great opportunity to bring out the digital currency, which ultimately bring in the MOTB, which will push prophecy faster. All right. So that's it. That's what the Lord is dividing them, because with this Iran war, Russia is getting richer with Russia is getting richer with with oil and whatnot, because they have a great relationship with Iran, and America is getting weaker in terms of their economy, okay, Iran not allowing that oil, allowing them to get that oil, so these nations, the EU nations, they're gonna turn to Russia, so the Lord have everything in plan, they Lord is destroying them. This is James. Stuck here, just bear with me here. This is James chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupt, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is conquered. It is worthless. Okay. that US dollar. Okay, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Okay, so it's gonna eat your flesh with fire. These nations gonna realize America is weak. And they're gonna come up against her. They're gonna nuke her. All right, rain fire upon her. That's it. This is Jeremiah. It's like here. Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." Okay. Verse 7, "Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad." Okay, the nations had, take a part of her delicacies, items and whatnot, but now they didn't get that pleasure anymore, so, they turn it mad. Lord stirring them up. Verse 8, "Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so, be she may be healed." And she's not gonna be made healed. Her economy going down. Alright, the money, okay, it is going down, plummeting, going down to the ground. The Lord making her weak. Verse she not in her prime anymore. Okay. Verse 9. Let's see here, verse 9. It says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies." Right, the Lord is fed up and is about to take her down. Ultimately, with those with the chariots and with those ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles. That mushroom cloud gonna go up to heaven. Okay, and that's it. The screw. I'll bring out that quick. Okay, this is Isaiah 34. 34. So I can just bear with me here. 34 verse let's see. I'll start verse 4. It says, "And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll." The mushroom cloud. Okay, and as their host shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Which is Esau, Edom. Alright, the Lord is coming back to destroy them. So that's it. So this will be the last precept. The Lord's willing, this video was edifying. Alright, this was this is Zechariah chapter 1. I believe Zephaniah chapter 1, and I'll start verse 10. "And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills." Okay, that the economy going down, because they ain't getting that oil to back up the dollar. Verse 11, "How the inhabitants of Makjesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. All right. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are settled on their lees. When doing the work. All right. That say in their heart, and also those who are seeking the Lord too. That say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. Verse 13, therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. The great day of the Lord is near, it is near and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. Esau Edom, gonna cry. All right. He coming down. All right, verse 15. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. And why is that? Is because it's those nuclear missiles going to be covering up the skies. Of America, Babylon the Great, Also the chariots too, the Lord of, gonna be, big, gonna cover the sky. Okay, so that's it there. So that's the stone what hit the so that's the stone what hit the statue, at the feet that chariot, So God's will in this video was edifying, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, Wa Abad Babal and Shalom.